Unless you've been living under a rock, you'll have seen that the Arcane Journal for Empire has been leaked, and if you're as excited as I am, I hope you're ready, because I've got a whole week of Empire videos coming for you. Today we're going to be talking about the Wolf Order. Tomorrow we're going to be looking at the War Wagons, and on Thursday we've got a full breakdown with an Empire expert, the one, the only, Jack Allen, who is the #1 Empire player, not only in the country, across the world. So the first thing to talk about is that there are multiple ways to play New Empire, which is really exciting. I think out of every book that's come out, this is the one that I'm the most genuinely excited for. Empire is, I think it's fair to say, bland. The base rules, they've got basically no army rules. They've got detachments, but other armies have detachments as well. Other than that, they've got incredibly mediocre characters. Yes, they're cheap. They've got incredibly mediocre units. Yes, they're cheap. And they've got very good artillery, which is not a super engaging way to play. You can play it well, but I think it gets dull pretty quickly. So what else have they got? Well, they've got some pretty cool units like demigryphs, one of my favorites. And this Arcane Journal brings in a whole host of new favorites that I have already. The first one that I want to talk about is the Tatuchitan Guard. And I've definitely pronounced that wrong. Let me know in the comments how you're meant to pronounce it. So why are we starting with the Guard? Have you ever looked at Black Orcs and thought, I wish I had that, but worse? Well, I've got Tatuchitan Guard for you. And when I say worse, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek because there's a lot of stuff that they do better. I'm not trying to make the comparison and say that they are genuinely as good as Black Orcs, but they have a lot of stuff going for them in a very similar sort of fashion, and I think they're a really solid starting point that you can put into your Knights Arcane Journal faction, or you can just play in Grand Army. If you look down at the bottom, it's off screen, but any army made using an Empire of Man Grand Army composition list may include 0-1 unit of Tatuchitan Guard as a special choice per warrior priest included. So if you wanted to go for the full 3, lots of places play with rule of 3, you could take 3 warrior priests in Grand Army and take 3 units of them in special. Am I going to do that? No. How do I feel about them? I think they're a very interesting unit. For me, this is the sort of definition of buy low, sell high. This unit is, right now, interesting. I think it's interesting. It's got stuff about it that I really like. It has the potential, if we get a meta change, if infantry becomes necessary, if we get perhaps objectives that you want to put large units with good leadership, the ability to re-roll leadership tests, stubborn veteran, mobility through, drilled. They've got good combat res. They can buy magic banners. They can have a special rule which gives them a ward save. That gives them reroll 1s to hit in combat. All of these things are good. They've got a decent weapon skill. They're starting off at weapon skill 4. Weirdly, the champion gets to weapon skill 5, which doesn't matter much, with the exception of that Wolves of the Sea matchup. If they're trying to challenge you out, means that they're going to be hitting you on 4s and you might be hitting them on 3s, depending on what character they go, what unit champion they pick. That's weird and niche, but it's there. But yeah, I think this is just a really interesting unit, and it's a good place to start looking. And the main reason for that is down at the bottom, and that is the Wolf Hammer. The Wolf Hammer is, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but it might be the best weapon that we've had printed since the initial rulebook came out. I understand that sounds hyperbolic, but if you look at it, if you get the charge, which is important in games of Warhammer, and I understand that on the Tatuchitan Guard you probably won't be getting the charge. Don't worry, the hammers can be taken elsewhere. We'll get to that. But it is basically a great weapon at initiative. Yes, you lose the armor bane. That sucks, getting those 6s to wound, getting to that AP3, that's really important. But you've got strength +1, which becomes strength +2 if you make a charge of above 3 inches. That's important anyway for this army, so we're going to go into that in a second as well. AP2. AP2 is kind of the pinnacle of what good AP is for massed attacks. If you think about how the game used to be, when AP was tied to strength, in previous editions, strength 6, that would be AP3. Strength 7, AP4. You're just shredding through armor. Yes, armor's a little easier to come by, but in this case, you've got the pinnacle of AP. Dragons have AP2. The Ogre Blade has AP2. Yes, it has armor bane on there as well. But if you look at what we consider to be good, AP2 is pretty much there across the board. This gives you AP2 all of the time. It's like a flail, but it gives you more strength. That's a great way of looking at it. It's a flail that gives you +2 strength on the turn you charge and +1 strength later on. It's a halberd that gives you extra AP. It's just a really fantastic weapon. And that, sure, you've got it on a 1 attack unit that only moves 4 inches and charges 10 inches. That's not super exciting. Yeah, but you can put it on characters, and that is where Empire really have struggled. Apologies for the slightly blurry text, but let me read it for you. So, Knightly orders, they're a thing, they're very flavorful for Empire. How do you represent them in your games? Well, you can take them in the Grand Army. To represent this, you may choose one of the following Knightly orders to include in your Empire of Man army. 0 to 1 Grand Masters or Chapter Masters, and 0 to 1 Empire Knights, Inner Circle Knights, or Demigryph Knights in your army may be upgraded to belong to your chosen Knightly order. What does that mean? That means that you can play Grand Army and still get the benefit of having, a unit of White Wolf and a character with White Wolf. That's really good. That might be the best way to do things. Or in the Knightly Orders Army of Infamy, you have to have all of your army as the Knights of the White Wolf if you go down that direction. And that is a little bit restrictive. You can't have casters if you're playing in the Knights of the White Wolf. So this is something I'm going to be going into detail more, because I think there's some really interesting builds you can go around off the rip. Knights of the Blazing Sun, to me, feels like it's playing a more balanced version of Bretonnian Exiles, but that's something we can talk about later in the week. You can also take Knights Panther, and Knights Panther, they've got their own buff, but more specifically here, you can have 0 to 1 units of Empire Knights or Inner Circle Knights as Order of the White Wolf as a mercenary choice, but without the misbehaving mercenary rules. That's fantastic, because you can take an army and play around with the Knights Panther rules, which, as you can see here, is just a really nice reliability boost across the army. You get to reroll 1 dice on the charge roll of a natural 1. It's not every one, so it's not quite as good as Bretonnia, but gives you a little bit more consistency on the charge. Normally, you're going to roll 1-1 and then like a 3 or a 4 or something like that, so it gives you a little bit more flexibility. You're not risking that higher roll. You get more consistent charges. You have to be armed with lances. Honestly, lances, apart from this new hammer, lances are the best weapons that you can get on Cavalry, so that's not a problem at all. And you also get a pretty wide-ranging hatred buff, which is Warriors of Chaos, Beastmen, Greyherds, and Demonic models. That's pretty good to have at the moment. Obviously, Warriors of Chaos on an absolute tear. Probably the most represented faction that we've seen. It's up there, Bretonnians and Tomb Kings are up there as well, but Warriors of Chaos have got a huge player base. Beastmen, they've got an Arcane Journal coming in the next 6 months, so there's going to be more models there. And then also Demonic models. Those are a little bit less likely to happen, but why not ruin their day by just bringing an army that, rerolls hits into everything they have. Also, if you have your characters or Inner Circle Knights as Knights Panther, they get Magic Resist 1. That's fine. It's not super exciting, but it's just a good buff to have. Knights Panther is, I want to play a reliable army that gives me some good across-the-board buffs, and then I want to have one thing that just absolutely slaps. Now, when I say absolutely slaps, I am not exaggerating. Empire are anemic in combat up until this point, and this is the fix to it. I don't know if you can tell, I'm genuinely so excited to play around with this. Orders of the White Wolf, they must be equipped with either great weapons or halberds, which they may replace with wolf hammers for free. So you pay for a great weapon or halberd. If you can take the halberd, halberds are typically 3 points, whereas great weapons are 4, so you save a couple of points there across the unit. And then you upgrade to the wolf hammer, which is a nice hybrid of the two, but it's better than both, in my personal opinion. You also gain the Furious Charge rule. The big thing that Empire really lack is density of attacks. Furious Charge is just a great rule to have, and something I wish you could have more. Obviously, well, it's not actually on the Tatuchian Guard, but on the mounted units, such as Inner Circle Knights, that's absolutely fantastic. They've got Strength 4 base, gets them up to that second attack, really increases their punch, doubles their punch for the the frontage that they have. I also really like it on Demigryph Knights. It doesn't buff them as much, but it takes them from an okay unit in terms of like they hit very hard, they're very tanky, but then they kind of become a little anemic after the initial punch, to something that can really grind through. If you have those additional attacks, getting that extra strength 5 AP2 attack really adds up, and comboing it, getting Furious Charge on there as well, so you get more punch on the charge. Tips them over, because I've been comparing them to Dragon Ogres a lot, making, you look at them, you go, why are people not playing these at the same frequency they're playing Dragon Ogres? And the answer to that is Warriors of Chaos are just cracked, and Beastmen don't have anything else to put in the list. But I think genuinely this puts them in real contention with Dragon Ogres, and I'm excited to see how that goes. I definitely want to be playing a list that runs 12 of them. I'm going to see if that works, but, something to play around with. Also, just as an added bonus, you get a 5-up ward against flaming attacks for Grandmasters, Chapter Masters, and Inner Circle Knights. On the characters, that's fine, but kind of whatever. You're not really worried about flaming attacks, and if you're playing those characters, you might be putting them on Demigryphs, and giving them a ward save themselves, or bunkering them in a unit, and the flaming attack bit doesn't come up all that much. But on the Inner Circle Knights, that's really tasty, because yes, they have a 2-up save, which is fantastic, but they're also T3, which puts them not at genuine vulnerability to a fireball, but it makes them, if someone casts a fireball on you, you could absolutely spike, take a lot more damage than you want to. Pillar of Fire really rips through these things. You're going to be wounding on 4s, then it's a 4-up save. That can spike in either direction, and you can just lose like 3, 30, 40, 30-odd point models. That gets expensive. So in terms of making the Inner Circle Knights not only double as punchy, you also give them this nice protection against the most common sort of damage that's going to be coming at them. Outside of magic missiles, and let's be honest, the things you're going to see are mostly going to be Fireball and Pillar of Fire, maybe a Blue Fire as each, also a flaming attack. You're most likely to see Dwarf ballistic skill shooting. There's not a huge amount of it, although there is, we have got a Null Arcane Journal, so maybe that's something to touch on. Maybe that'll be a risk for the low toughness but high armor save of the Empire Inner Circle Knights. But ballistic skill shooting, a lot of it's going to be dwarves. So you've got the Iron Drakes. They've got flaming attacks. If your opponent's got rangers, they might have put a runesmith in with them, giving them flaming attacks and extra armor pen. It just really adds up. A lot of the stuff that you're expecting to see, that 5-up ward against flaming attacks is going to be really valuable. I've been talking a lot about the Inner Circle Knights. Why are they so exciting? Well, the reason they're so exciting is if you're going to play them in the Knightly Order, which is a very exciting way to do things. I said exciting too much there. I'm really hyped for this Arcane Journal. You can take a unit of them in core. I probably wasn't going to run them in special. It's the Chosen Knight effect. I probably want to run Demigryph instead. Monstrous beasts, the high density of wounds, the similar output or higher output, I value that more. But if you can take a unit of Inner Circle Knights in core, now we're cooking. Inner Circle Knights clock in at a fairly budget 30 points, which for a 2-up save model is pretty good. And they are Weapon Skill 4, Strength 4, Initiative 4, Single Attack, but they've got solid leadership, good armor save, low toughness, and a host of special rules. Countercharge, very important on Cavalry, especially if you're looking to run into maybe other, Empire armies. Drilled, just great to have. I don't love spending points on it, but when it's for free, I'm going to take it. First Charge, classic on Cavalry, but you really want it. Swift Stride, Veteran, both of those incredible rules. And then also Inner Circle. When you're in combat, you reroll hit rolls to 1. That's just good. It's a very consistent package, but it doesn't hit super hard. But you upgrade it for 3 points per model to make them into the White Wolf. And remember, you can do this either in Knights Panther or in a full Wolf Order list, or you can do it in Grand Army. You can just sort of crowbar these guys in, which I think is still pretty legit. That gets them up to the second attack. They're going to be making 2 attacks, hitting on usually going to be 4s into solid targets. So let's say hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, but then they're strength 6, AP 2. And then if they have to grind through combat next turn, they're going to be hitting at strength 5, AP 2. Only a single attack there, but, pick fights better. They're really solid. They've got a 2-up save against shooting because they've got that full plate shield and barding. Yes, in combat, you're going to be using those hammers, but you're still going to be a 3-up save in combat, which is not bad at all. You can give them stubborn if you want to, just try not to lose fights, in my opinion. You can take a magic item on them as well, which is fantastic because there's a great one to cover up some of the flaws in them, which is their low toughness and vulnerability to, some sorts of magic. And you can have magic standards as well. The 2 notable things that I want to point out you can take here with that magic item allowance and then the magic banner. First one, Witch Hunter's Ward, 20 points, and it is better than you could get in the Chaos book because it's a brazen collar, magic resist 2. It's extremely common. You can have them on all of your unit champions if you want to, all the ones that can take magic items. And it also gives you a single failed armor save reroll. That's genuinely pretty nice. If you're in a challenge, you're probably going to want to try and survive. Good players will try and snipe out the unit champions because it lowers the amount of attacks coming back if you can wipe their front rank. So just having that little bit of survivability built in, because in combat you've already got a 3-up save. That's pretty good. 20 points there, going on the unit champion. I think I'm going to be picking that up every time that I take a unit champion. Then if we move into banners, I think they're a great user of the Tapestry of Sigmar's Triumph. It's a 40-point magic banner, and it gives them reroll of 1s to wound in the first round of combat. That's right, that means you're going to be charging in, you're going to be rerolling 1s to hit, rerolling 1s to wound. That gives you a lot of reliability. Warhammer the Old World is a game where you do not get a lot of chance to stack the odds in your favor, increase the reliability, reroll those ones. Anytime you can do it, it's definitely worth a look. And in this case, you've got a good quantity of attacks that are rerolling ones from the unit themselves and then rerolling ones to wound from the banner. I think that's a fantastic combination. It's something I think will be a mainstay and genuinely will see play in Grand Army. With all that said, there are some downsides. If you want to play the full Knightly Order, you might notice that in the character slot there are no wizards. That is a real and genuine downside. Bretonnians can get away with it. Can this army get away with it by applying enough pressure across multiple units? I don't know. My gut feeling is no. I'm definitely going to test it, but it might be something that maybe you decide I don't want to go for the White Wolf Arcane Journal, Knightly Order army, and I go for an army that uses aspects from the Arcane Journal and the Grand Army, or I maybe go Knights Panthers, which again still can't take any casters, or maybe you end up going another way. I just see the damage go button and I get very excited. Quick breakdown of what you can get here. You can take 0-1 Grandmaster, multiple Chapter Masters, you have to take at least one. You can take 0-1 Sigma or High Priest Ulrich for 1,000 points, Witchprint Hunters and low levels, and then 0-1 War Altar as well. I think there's some real scope there to go into various bits and pieces. Those are fine. I think I'm looking at building Chapter Masters and Grandmasters on Demigryphs, maybe running them solo as sort of a pseudo Royal Pegasus build. They are significantly slower, but they do have a good density of attacks. You give them the hammer, so they're hitting at strength 6 AP2, which is very good. They're going to have a 360-degree line of sight. They've got a good toughness. T4, a 2-up armor save. You can buy them ward saves. I think there's a lot of play there. Into special, you can still take those Demigryph Knights. And then if you want to in rare, you can take some Pistoliers. But excitingly as well, you get to take a BSB as a Chapter Master as a BSB, I should say, which means you can have an actual competent character instead of the admittedly bare bones cheap captain. But you can have something that does have some actual attacks with some half-decent weapon skill. It's only weapon skill 5. But again, put it on top of a Demigryph. You're going to be Thank you for watching, and thank you to the support that I receive from my channel members. Huge thanks to the Grail Knight tier supporters, and also thanks to the Longbeards and the Fanatic tier supporters as well. If you want to support the channel, you too can become a member. The link is down below the video. But if you don't want to give me any money, which is entirely fair enough, I would appreciate the thumbs up, the comments, all of those good things that help me get found in the YouTube algorithm. They really help, and they've been helping grow the channel, and I appreciate the support that I've been given. If you want to see more stuff and just engage in the community we've been building, there is a closer order Discord down below. It's not a VIP Discord, anyone can join, but there are some VIP sections for the YouTube members at Longbeard tier and above. Currently, I'm trying to get 2 videos out a week on a Thursday and a Sunday, and also doing 2 live streams. That's a Tuesday and a Friday. I do stick to this as much as possible. So, check me out. I'll see you around.